I invite you to a reflection on the theme of love as the fundamental attitude in Carmel. I will explore on the theme of love based on it being an attitude in our lives as Carmelites. And my reflection will be centered on four major aspects, looking first of all at an introduction. What's the meaning of love? And secondly, based on the description of an attitude, what an attitude is all about. We need to put an understanding. We need to let each other understand on how love becomes the fundamental attitude in Carmel. And on the second part, I would like to share with you on how love becomes a fundamental attitude in Carmel, precisely looking at our rule. What is the rule has to say with regard to the theme of love, which is a spiritual value. I will also, on the third side, look at love as a fundamental attitude in Carmel, giving a description on the Carmelite charism and on the two principal models of our order, that say Mary and Elijah, looking on how this theme of love is all about associated with them. And I will lastly conclude on looking unto love in the lives of us as the religious, basically looking at the three evangelical counsels, the vows of obedience, poverty, and chastity. And I will conclude on the understanding of love as briefly illustrated by some of our Carmelite saints. Therefore, beginning with the meaning of love, love has been described as warm affections, attachments, linking all the fondness, all paternal benevolence, and affectionate devotion to all towards a thing or a person. However, when we look at this definition of love, we may not find the true meaning of what love is all about. But all in all, we need to understand love as something that is given and something that is received. It is something that is self-diffusive. And it is not something that can be thrown in void. It is something that one has to give and another person has to receive it. Love is the heart-to-heart relationship. And this relationship, we come to realize that it forms a bond. It forms a link. It forms affections and attachments between the individuals. Therefore, when one feels God's love, it simply implies that he or she is in that deep relationship with God. He is in that deep bond with God. Being a heart-to-heart relationship, it means that love is more spiritual rather than being a physical reality. Though those who give love and those who receive it, they are physical beings. They are human beings that can be pointed at as this or the other person. So therefore, can we negate or even doubt the existence of love? When we look in the history of philosophy, there are some positivists, philosophers who have negated the existence of love. For example, a case in point is the philosopher Julius Alfred Aye. For him, for something to exist, it must be a physical reality, something that can be measured, something that can be verified of its existence. So he came up with the principle of verifiability. To exist is to be verified, and to be verified it is to have a physical extension. But however, we cannot also accept what Julius I talks about. The virtue of the fact that we feel these warm affections, as I said from the introduction, the fact that we feel so much close to one another, we therefore opt and we dare to say that love exists. Yes, it is not verifiable. It is not something that is physically seen. But the fact that we feel those warm affections, we therefore conclude to say that love exists. I would like therefore to talk something on love in the lives of Carmelites. There are many types of love, filial, erotic, but I would like to be so much precise to love of agape, the agape love. Carmelites, being a religious, we are called to serve God and God's people as a contemplative fraternity in the midst of the services. We need to find the means to meditate on our love for God and God's people. We are to hold love for God, and our love for God's people whom we minister to, those whom we talk to, those whom we come to encounter with. We need to encounter them with love. We need to serve God with love. We need therefore to take love as a fundamental attitude in a common. We may therefore ask ourselves, how does love become a fundamental attitude in a common? And what is attitude all about? When we look at attitude, it simply means a way of thinking, believing, and a general way of behaving. As such, our lives as Carmelites has to be rooted from love. It is the love for God that who first called us to serve him that still inspires us to serve faithfully the people of God themselves. And we serve those people of God wholeheartedly by the means of contemplation, fraternity, prayer, and the service in the midst. Therefore, as Carmelites, whatever we think, our thoughts have to be traced from the origins of love for God and the love for a neighbor. Generally, our way of perceiving, it should have its foundation from love as a spiritual value. Don't think outside the box of love. Let love be your guiding star. Generally, Carmelites, we lead our lives putting forward the love of God who calls us into this consecrated life, and the love of God's people whom we are called to minister to. Attitude being a way of thinking and living calls us as Carmelites to love God whom we think through contemplation, to love God whom we live for through our senses of fraternity and even of service. Carmelites, therefore, we need to find it necessary, and we need to let our lives be configured and even confined into this aspect of love. Let love be our limitation. As people have said, the sky is the limit. But as Carmelites, as I'm going to discuss in the next part, you will see that our limit is love. Our way of life as Carmelites has generated from the rule from Mary and Elijah as our principal models. It calls us to be the people of love. Therefore, as Carmelites, I would like to invite all the brothers and the sisters in Carmel, and even the faithful, those whom we give and we offer our services to, those whom we do our apostolate to come and listen on how love makes us to be Carmelites. You cannot be a Carmelite if you don't know how to love God, if you don't know how to love the people that God calls you to minister to. And when we talk about love to God's people, we speak of that love which is universal, love which is not exclusive, love which is not selective, love which does not pick one and leave the other, but love of God, love which is extended to the poor, to the weak, to those who are unprivileged in our societies, and generally love that calls us to be people who are faithful to the people that we minister to. Therefore, as Carmelites, we find it necessary to reflect on the words of the Holy Scriptures as rooted from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 6, verses 4 to 5, that you shall love the Lord your God with all your strength, and with all your might, and with all your soul. I therefore kindly invite you to listen to the following reflection